There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. As you tap into this power, it brings happiness, peace of mind, companionship, and success. This power will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Welcome. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Delighted to be with you on this edition of Spirituality Rocks. With me in the studio is Tommy Marr, the Woodstock Guru. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you, Janine.
And Christina Goshen. Greetings of Daniel Gale Agency. Good to see you again, both.
Nice to see you too, Janine.
Today, we have with us on Skype, he'll be joining us in a little while, we have the interim senior minister, Rev.Charles Taylor. He's of the Universal Truth Center in Miami Gardens. He's the author of The Hip Factor, Choosing Your Way to Healthy, Inspiring, and Purposeful Living. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you. If you've ever heard me give an inspirational talk, or if you've ever heard me give a workshop, you've heard me say that I really don't believe that when one door closes, another door opens. And that's because when one door closes, many doors open. We live in an abundant universe. The universe is ever evolving. It's not static. And so there are many, many doors that open before us, many opportunities that are out there and available to us. The challenge comes is that we're usually so busy looking at the door that closed that we're not available to the doors that are open before us. We're paying attention to that. What happens is that the ego mind gets stuck. We think, oh, I should have done this, or why didn't I do this, or what's wrong, and we're trying to figure it out because that's what the ego does. The ego wants to be in charge. There's an acronym that people use for ego, and it's called edging God out, because the ego wants to be in control, and that's the part that tells the story over and over and embellishes it and everything. And so what happens then, the opportunities, the new ideas, the new ways, the new means that are available aren't always clear. And so what I just wanted to have with us is a little brief chat about this idea of one door closing and then many doors opening. And I know, Tommy, you said that you've had that experience.
Oh, who hasn't? Who hasn't? And I think you're right. We do focus more on the door that closed than the path of the doors that are open to us. And it's true, whether it's out of anger or disappointment or, it could be many reasons.
You could be frustrated, yeah.
Yeah, and you go into your cocoon and you have a horrible time for yourself. And
I have a perfect example because it happened to me this morning, and it's a very simplistic example, but I was late. I was running late for an appointment. And I was angry at everyone in front of me because they weren't going as fast as I needed them to go in order for me to be on time. But then I realized that ahead of me there was someone pulled over on the side of the street. So two things occurred to me at that point. Number one, sure, the door for me being on time was definitely closed. But the door for me getting a speeding ticket was definitely closed as well, opening up the whole myriad of opportunities to get to work on time safely and without the ticket.
Right. So that's a simplistic example, but it's a great and a good example. I think the important thing that we need to look at is, what do we do when the ego just jumps in and doesn't let go? I mean, you begin to, I call it the silver hammer experience. How could I have done this? Why should I have done this and that? And that's where we can get trapped.
I really believe, for me anyway, because it did happen to me, I built a very, very, very big business in Manhattan, and it was I'll make it simple and say it was taken away from me after it was doing very well. And I think you really need to get within yourself and take time to think things out and to regroup and come out fighting, rather than, going in your room and pulling the covers over your head.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that's the spin I'd like to take this one. And we are not in control of the thoughts that come into our mind, but we control which ones stay there. And we cannot control external events, but we can control the internal events of our mind and emotions. And as you develop a strong spiritual practice, then the ego mind loses its grip on you. It doesn't besiege and it can't hold on you any longer. And so when I talk about spiritual practice, I'm talking not only about affirmative prayer, not just affirmations, but taking time to meditate, taking time to visualize, going out into nature. There's so many things that we can do. One of my favorite ones that I'm seeing a lot of people are talking about now is visualizing light. The Bible says in the beginning, let there be light. And to just imagine that there's an ocean of light above you. And then just visualize that light coming down. In fact, if you go on to Facebook on the Spirituality Rocks page, you'll see that there are several contributors who talk about that. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of contributors who talk about that. We have a lot of noise in the background from Skype. Sorry about that, a little technical stuff there. So check out Spirituality Rocks, and you're going to see more about that light. But any other comments about when one door closes, many doors open?
Well, you know what's interesting? I find that you'll see those open doors the more that you bring stillness into the moment. So if you see the closed door and you are feeling frustrated and you are feeling emotional, I always tell my kids, when you're feeling like you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Get into the minute, breathe a little bit, and look around you, and you'll see those opportunities opening up.
Perfect. And not only that, when you do that, you open the space for divine ideas to come through and for divine guidance and for your intuition to answer you. Yeah.
And I think the first thing that you have to do is cleanse yourself within before you can go forward. If you don't, and if you're dragging that baggage with you, it's just going to make the trip a lot tougher.
Stop looking at the door behind
I'm
you
looking
and be
at you.
open to possibilities. Stop looking at the door behind
That's
you.
true.
That
It's
was
true, but
good.
it takes time, though. It's you know.
It's a
Well,
practice.
that's why we have a spiritual practice.
Yeah, I get mine on my walks. I do 5 miles every day, and that's how I broke myself into calming down and
that's
letting the
awesome.
anger go and
That's awesome.
saying, okay, you know, this really wasn't the most important thing.
Okay.
It's not really why I was here. And,
Taking steps forward then.
yeah.
Good. Well, in just a few moments, I'm going to be introducing to you to the Rev.Charles Taylor, who is the senior minister of the Universal Truth Center in Miami, Florida, the author of The Hip Factor. So we'll be right back in just a few moments with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn?
Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act One will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote, or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure.
You'll be happy you did.
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hog's hair and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
Joyfully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, in the studio with Christina Goshen. Welcome back.
Thanks, Janine.
Great to have you with us. And we have with us on Skype the interim senior minister of the Universal Truth Center, the Rev.Charles Taylor. He's the author of The Hip Factor. Actually, I saw him recently, a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic to have you with you, Reverend Charles. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. I
Thank-
look forward to our conversation together.
Thank you, as am I. So I love your title of your book, The Hip Factor, because, hip engenders what? Edginess and cool and all.
Trendy and modern.
Yes,
Yes.
trendy and modern. HIP is an acronym for Healthy, Inspiring, Purposeful. So tell us a little bit, what is the HIP lifestyle?
The hip lifestyle. Thank you, Janine, for asking that question. The hip lifestyle, a lot of people really live below their potential. And so the hip lifestyle is an opportunity for people to make choices for the highest and best, to live at their highest potential, to live their best life. That is the hip lifestyle. It's a healthy, inspiring, and purposeful way of being in the world.
Why do some people live below their potential?
The reason some people live below their potential is because, really, they don't give themselves permission to live above their potential, to live to their fullest and highest. They're waiting for someone or something to give them permission to live their best life, be it an authority figure, parent, the government, or someone. They're waiting for somebody to give them permission instead of realizing that they have the power within them to give themselves permission to live their best life.
It's interesting because I'm always telling my kids, always, that life doesn't happen to you. Life happens because of you.
Yes.
And everything
yes.
that's happening is a rippling effect from something that you did.
Correct. And it's all about making choices. It's all about the choices that you make moment to moment. And most people do not make conscious choices. They make unconscious choices. And they live their life in a default mode. And therefore, they just live the same old, doing the same things every day. And I always tell people, more the same will always get you more the same.
So then talk more about these conscious choices. I mean,
Yes.
what can people do to make conscious choices, different choices?
Well, one of the things that people can do is, I heard you talk about earlier, is to have a spiritual practice
Okay.
of prayer, meditation, of deep breathing, conscious breathing. And I found that conscious breathing is one of the best tools that you can use to begin to wake up and become more conscious of the choices that you're making moment to moment.
Oh, you know what? I'm very
Yes.
excited to hear you say that, because actually I'm certified in something called transformational breath. And matter of fact, I used to talk to your buddy, Mary Tumpkin, a lot about that conscious breathing.
Conscious breathing.
Yes, because it's just absolutely fantastic. It's just conscious breathing. You can use it to calm yourself down. You can use it to meditate. But one of the quickest things it does is whatever's going on, whether it's good or you claim it's not good, it brings you right back into the present moment when you can make the choice. And I trust that that's what you were inferring.
That is what I'm referring to, because a lot of times when people don't want to face something, when they don't want to fully feel what's going on in the moment, they have a tendency to hold their breath. Mm-hmm. And what that does is shut them down and allows them to go unconscious. And they begin to make choices out of the past, from reactions and so forth, and they don't make choices that's conscious in the moment.
That's a critically good point, because actually we use our breath to control our emotions. Think about it. If something's horrible, we go, that's so horrible. Or if something's beautiful, we go, that's so beautiful. And we do what's called shallow breathing. Mm-hmm. And and we go back and live from the subconscious. Yeah, remember a few weeks ago, Frank Zamalin was talking about how often that we just live from the subconscious rather than making conscious choices.
That is
And
so
it's
true.
also very interesting that if you look at any religion, certainly some of the oldest religions, all of them have some sort of aspect surrounding focusing on your breathing. It's
Yes,
one of those
yes.
ways to let God in.
That is.
Well,
And your breath is really the life of God breathing in you and as you.
The Latin word spirare and
Yeah.
the word to breathe, spirit and suare are from the same Latin root, which mean God. So it is the life of God. And the fact that we breathe is ordained by a power outside of us. Of course, we can use the word God, we can use the word, whatever word we choose.
Sure.
Usually in the beginning of the show, Reverend Charles, I tell the people that I get very clear about what new thought is, that we teach a new thought, that there's one presence and one power that's in all of life everywhere that seeks to express in you, through you, and as you. I distinguish it from New Age, where New Age, and we use a lot of tools, and there's nothing wrong with New Age except that I'm always concerned, what if you leave your tools home? The power is always within you. You need to learn how to consciously use it.
That's true.
That's
That
it.
is true.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that.
So what inspired you to write this book? Usually an author has an inspiration, a moment.
Yes. Well, I've been teaching spiritual classes and spiritual lessons. I've been a spiritual teacher for about 20 plus years now. And several years ago, after one of my classes, one of my students came to me and said, Charles, I really love your teachings, but I need something to remind me on a daily basis as to making conscious choices. So she said, well, can you send me some text messages every day so that it could be a reminder for me to make choices at the highest and the best? So I said, sure. So I started sending her text messages every day at a certain time, and pretty soon she told someone about them, and they asked me to add them to the list, and my list grew and grew and grew until it became to about 200 individuals that I send these inspirational text messages to. And then one of the persons I sent a text message to said, man, these are so good, you should write a book. And I said, you know what, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I decided to compile all of the best of my text messages. Actually, my wife decided it, because at that time I met my wife, Shakira, and she decided to compile all of my inspirational text messages that are the best into a book form. And that's basically how the book came into being.
Well, I love your website, and there's a
Thank
banner. We'll have a banner running across the stream. It's hipcoaches.com. And when I was on the website today, I saw that you had guiding principles for the month.
Yes,
And
each month.
I like this. And so here's the guiding principle for December. Let me read it to you. Purposeful people know that in practicing generosity, everything they do for another, they do for themselves.
That is true.
And everything you do for yourself, you do for another.
Yes.
And then you charge us to practice generosity. That's a real symbiotic relationship there.
And really timely.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And each month, the book is based on my text messages, like I said, and each month we focus in on one of these principles. So this month, all of my text messages are going out is about how to practice generosity.
And how do we get on your list? How
Yeah.
do how do the viewers get on your list?
But they could write me at the website, www.hipcoaches.com.
Okay.
Leave a message or call us at 954-591-8542, and we will put them on the list to receive these daily text messages that are inspirational.
Oh, say us that phone number one more time, please.
Yes, 954-591-8542.
That's terrific.
You know what you were saying, that I took from your book was
Yes.
people are not in your life by accident. What does that mean?
Well, I believe in soul contracts, and that we call individuals into our lives to help us evolve and grow and become more ourselves. I truly believe that relationships, from the most intimate to the most casual, all relationships are opportunities for us to really meet ourselves and to bring up within ourselves aspects of ourselves that will help us to grow and develop and evolve and become more and more ourselves. So that's why I said we're not in each other's lives by accident.
Well, what do you mean by soul contracts? I mean, I think I know what you mean, but for someone who may not be familiar with that term.
A soul contract is a contract that you have with someone who has a piece, what I call a piece of your story.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
each of us have a piece of each other's story. Sometimes it could be a word, sometimes it could be a sentence, sometimes it could be a whole chapter. But we each have a piece of each other's story that we need to share with each other to help complete part of ourselves as we evolve and grow. So that's what I mean by soul contracts.
What's so wonderful about that and about your message for this month is that it really is so generous of all of us to help each other write our own life books. And sometimes we are not necessarily the most pleasant chapter of someone's book, but it is no less a learning opportunity that has to go in as a chapter.
That's true. That's true. And sometimes those encounters are not pleasant, like you said, but they nevertheless are opportunities for us to grow and evolve. And the key is to be conscious when we have those kind of encounters. Because sometimes we go unconscious when we have those kind of encounters, and we want to place blame or criticize or push the person away from us. But if we remain conscious, we can recognize what's going on in the moment, that this person is here to support me in my evolution.
Beautiful. So then what I heard you say, to sum it up then, is that we make these soul agreements before birth to learn soul lessons so that we evolve and grow, and then also so that we can learn our own spiritual identity.
You got it.
Oh, we got it.
Yes, become more conscious of who we really are.
Okay, fantastic. Well,
Yes.
we're going to cut to a commercial break in just a moment. And when we return, I'd like to talk about Dr. Mary Tumpkin, who was the senior minister at the Universal Truth Center, where you now are the interim minister. But before we go to break, please show us your book. Hold up your book so that people can see your
this
book.
Is the book. Can you see?
Yeah, but you have to hold it still. There we go.
Okay.
The hip factor, tilt it a little more. The hip factor, fantastic. And how can people get a copy of that hip factor?
You could get a copy of it by going to Amazon.com. We are on Amazon.com. You also can go to our website, www.hipcoaches.com, and place the order there. Or write us or call us at 954-591-8542, and we'll be happy to send you a copy.
You know, I love how accessible you are. I think that's fantastic. So we'll be back right after this commercial break with more of Spirituality Rocks.
Yes.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely.
Like so many people, are your finances tight lately? Afraid to open your mail or even answer your phone? Well, take heart. You don't have to live like that. If you're 62 or older and own your own home, you can join the thousands of folks who have used safe and effective government-insured reverse mortgages. The government-insured reverse mortgages from Long Island's Senior Reverse Network allow you to stay in your home and turn equity into tax-free cash. Our government-insured reverse mortgages can eliminate mortgage payments, credit card balances, or just improve your lifestyle. Do yourself a favor and solve these problems now. Call the Senior Reverse Network, and our advisors will answer all of your questions about our reverse mortgage programs. We've helped scores of senior Long Island homeowners like you who now enjoy a worry-free retirement. Get the financial security and peace of mind you've dreamed about. Pick up the phone and call us at the Senior Reverse Network now to set up a free consultation.
Call 1-800-985-REVERSE. That's 1-800-985-7383.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, my co-host, Christina Goshen of the Daniel Gale Agency. And on Skype, we have the Rev.Charles Taylor, who is the interim minister of the Universal Truth Center in Miami Gardens, Florida. So, Reverend Charles, this is the time of the show where we do an affirmative prayer. So I'm going to invite everybody to do some conscious breathing. So breathe in through your nose gently and out through your mouth. And then breathe in again through your nose a little bit deeper and out through your mouth. And one more time, breathe in through your nose deeply and out through your mouth. This is a strong nonverbal message to the subconscious mind that you're ready to go into prayer. And so I'll speak these words in the first person. I invite you to resonate in your own consciousness. I understand that the gifts of spirit are mine for envisioning them and for accepting them. And so I accept the gifts of spirit more than ever before. Peace, health, joy, beauty, wisdom are my divine birthright, and I accept them. I move forward in my life with freedom and ease, trusting that whatever I need, whenever I need it, is mine. I accept it and I claim it. When there are experiences in my life that seem to befuddle me or confuse me or cause me frustration, I allow the door behind me to close and I let it go. I let the past go and I keep my eyes focused on the bright future before me because I know there's always opportunities. So I give thanks for new ideas, new opportunities to experience all the qualities of spirit, to experience peace, ease, and joy in my life and the generosity of spirit. I release this prayer, trusting, knowing that divine right action is taking place, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
So now's our time to talk about Mary Tumpkin. We have we're going to show a little video in just a moment. Our sound engineer, who happens to be named Janine also, is going to set that up for us. But I want to just tell you a little bit how I met the amazing Mary Tumpkin. Mary Tumpkin recently made her transition, and the reason I wasn't hosting the show last week was because I went down to Florida for her, the week before, for her memorial service, which was just spectacular. Is that still up on the Universal Truth Center website?
It is available on the website, yes.
It's just fantastic. So Mary started in her living room in the early 1980s with just a handful of people. She ended up being the president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, which was founded from Rev. Dr. Johnny Coleman, who was her mentor. And she, as president, she led over 25,000 members in dozens of churches, not only across the nation, around the world, in fact.
Yes.
Her preaching career began when she was a teenager. She was 13 years old in Detroit. She was an avid reader, and instead of going to sleep at night, she would often stay up in the nights reading. And they are in Miami Gardens, as I mentioned. Mary served on the board of multiple religious organizations, including the Society for the Study of Metaphysical Religion. She was on the board of directors of the International New Thought Alliance, the Florida Center for Theological Studies, and West Star Institute. She had her doctorate. Where did she receive her doctorate?
From the South Florida Institute.
South Florida Institute.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, her messages were so empowering and so uplifting and so incredible. And so I'm just going to ask that we put on this very short YouTube video that we have of the beloved Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin.
Okay.
Prayer is about sincerity of the heart. You don't even have to utter any words. You can do it silently, because prayer is the true desire of the heart. Now, every desire, you say, well, there's some crazy desires people have. Every desire should be lifted up to the Spirit and allowed to be molded by God. Is that not true? Do you lift up your desires in the first place so that you are not having desires that are scraping the ground? Do you know what I mean when I say scraping the ground? When people get off and desiring things that are not wise for them, they're not lifted it up to the Spirit. They're not let God teach them how to pray. That's why I want you to get in the 8th chapter of Romans, because it said the Spirit maketh intercession for you in words you don't even know to speak. There's something praying for you all of the time. There's something praying for you, speaking these words, that you might go in to a glorious experience. And if you deny it and don't open up to it, don't blame God, because God has prepared you to be a winner. You're in the church tonight.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That was the Reverend Mary Tumpkin. And we have a couple of words that were...
Well, the Reverend Saba Mchunguzi said in a recent quote, he said, "It's been my honor to have known and worked with Reverend Tumpkin for almost 30 years. She had an unwavering faith and deep understanding of spiritual principle. She lived it, she taught it, and she demonstrated it throughout her life. To say that she was a powerful and profound presence would be an understatement. Reverend Mary was larger than life and encouraged the rest of us to expand our own paradigms and express more and more of the God that is within us."
It's just fantastic. And then there's the one from the Association of Global New Thought.
Yeah, they wrote that Dr. Mary Tumpkin was a Charter Advisory Council member, and they said she was a source of divine inspiration to us all and a true exemplar of love, consciousness, dedication, and creativity. We are blessed to have known her.
Just an amazing woman. Dr. John Waterhouse, who was on the show a few weeks ago, he's the president of the Centers for Spiritual Living, and he was there as well. He said that she was one of the true pioneers of modern day New Thought. She taught from a Bible perspective, but her understanding of New Thought Bible principle was impeccable in that she lived what she taught. And people can go on to YouTube and look up Universal Truth Center, and you can see some videos of Mary. I met Mary in 1988 at the Creating the Church of Tomorrow Today seminar in Warren, Michigan. And I just thought Mary was great. Mary was a very powerful, bold woman, and I went right up to her. I didn't say hello. I just sat down right in front of her while she was eating, and I said, "Mary Tumpkin, I want to speak at your church." And she kind of sputtered her food because I don't think she was used to people like me coming up. Because people didn't mess with Mary. Mary was a tough cookie. You didn't mess with Mary. And she said, "Sure, send me some material." So I spoke at the church that year and the following year. I actually spoke there just a few years ago. Reverend Charles, tell us your experience. You're the interim minister now. Tell us of your experience with Dr. Mary Tumpkin.
Yes, I met Reverend Dr. Tumpkin over 30 plus years ago. Really through Les Brown. Les Brown started a movement down in Miami 30 plus years ago called the Quest Center. And it grew so large where people were asking for a church. And Les was not willing to start a church. He wanted to expand his speaking career. So Les introduced us to Reverend Mary, who was teaching in her living room. And I was one of the first ones to actually be a part of that ministry when she was in her living room.
Wow.
So I'm a witness to that.
Right.
That she started in her living room with a handful of people. And from there, it grew into the international ministry that she left us with a wonderful, wonderful legacy.
Mary was a courageous and warm-hearted woman.
Yes, she was.
As a pioneer, she blazed huge trails in the New Thought ministry, and she will be sorely missed. But what I'm so thrilled about is on New Thought, people, they are missing her. You know, your heart is sad, but people are stepping up to the plate, and people are just really wanting to know that her legacy remains strong and that it lives on.
Yes, it does.
So many people nourished, encouraged, and inspired by the Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin. And I know that we're all grateful to have been able to walk the path with her. And I think Reverend Charles would say this, Christina, that we're so glad that Mary Tumpkin chose to be alive the same time that we were.
Yes.
You were talking about those soul contracts, Reverend Charles.
Yes, soul contract. Soul contract. It is.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things I really appreciated about Reverend Mary was that, she was a pioneer in the New Thought movement, but she emphasized the Bible. And that's very rare in the New Thought movement, where you have a church that teaches New Thought principles and at the same time emphasizes the use of the Bible. We call ourselves a Bible-based church for thinkers.
For thinkers.
She really wanted people to think
about
the Bible and how the Bible can be used as a tool to help you live a better life.
Well, she was a Bible scholar who, in fact, did metaphysical Bible interpretation. And I can remember one time when I heard Mary speak at one of the Panorama of Truth, She said most people go to church on Sunday morning, they get out of the car, and they leave their brains in the trunk of the car and then come into the church. She wanted us to be critical thinkers, and that's one of the legacies she's left with us. Well,
and not accept the Bible as a literal Word of God kind of instrument that people use it as, that this is the Word of God and this is what it means, but to really think about what are the spiritual messages that can be found in the Bible to help us live a better life.
And yes, and I agree. Mary called herself a New Thought Christian.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who, when they get into New Thought, maybe it's the pendulum swing effect because they just had too much of the dogma of the church, and they call themselves spiritual but not religious, but they don't look for the hidden and deeper meanings of the Bible. And there's so many great books out there that you can read that look at the Bible and look at a metaphysical interpretation. There's a book, Science of Mind, by Ernest Holmes, has some interpretation in it. Jack Addington wrote a book called The Hidden Mystery of the Bible. Emmett Fox did the work.
Fillmore.
So I was just looking for his name. Thank you. You read it, took it right out of my head. Charles Fillmore. I want to read a quote here from the Reverend Sidar. Sidar Mercer is a divine science minister. She's also on the board of directors of the International New Thought Alliance. And she said, Reverend Dr. Mary was a giant in our movement. She takes her place alongside women leaders and teachers such as Johnny Coleman and Emily Cady, whose extraordinary accomplishments and great character have inspired many of us to achieve our full potential. She was a great example for women in ministry. And Reverend Alice Brown, they actually wrote a whole resolution in loving memory of Dr. Mary. It's a little too long to read, but it's just fantastic, all the whereas, where, how it was and how it will be, because we know that Mary lives on forever. Her spirit lives on forever. It lives on.
Yes.
You are connected her in love. I always say, Charles, that love is the glue that holds the universe together. What do you say about love?
Well, I say love is the glue, and actually love is the most powerful quality or attribute that we can all live and express. Love heals, love prospers us, love binds us all together, and it allows us to be able to recognize a commonality among all of us. It goes beyond the surface, and without love, this world will go down with the dogs, I say.
Well, that was juicy.
Yeah.
Love binds us together, and love heals us, and love draws to us our good. Yeah.
There's actual medical research which shows, too, that the people that are the happiest and the healthiest in the world are not the people that necessarily have the most means. They're not the people that have the most friends or go on great trips. They're the people that can process what happens in their life as a teaching, as a lesson, and then move forward in love.
That's right.
Go forth in love.
Ooh.
And yes, that is so good, Christine. And the key to that, though, is being able to learn how to love yourself. Jesus put it this way, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but you can only love others to the degree that you love yourself.
And I think the reason we don't love ourselves is because our ego mind is out of control. Also how we've been raised. You've got to be taught, that song, you've got to be taught to hurt and fear. You're taught a lot of your having a poor self-image. But as we learn who and what God is and learn our spiritual identity, that's the key to turning it around. But that's also a key to a whole nother show, Reverend Charles.
Yeah.
So for now, I'd like you to hold up your book again. Let's show the audience your book.
All right,
and
thank
it's
you.
called The Hip Factor. And it's choosing your way to a healthy, inspiring, purposeful living. You can get the book on Amazon. You also can go check out Hip Coaches, www.hipcoaches.com, to find out more about the work of Reverend Charles. Thank you so much for joining us on Spirituality Rocks. We hope you'll be back again next year with more juicy. And we know that you are divinely guided and inspired as you are filling in as the senior intern minister for the beloved Mary Tumpkin at the Universal Truth Center. We invite our friends to check out the Universal Truth Center. But we will be back in just a little while with more of Spirituality Rocks. Thank you, Reverend Charles.
Thank you. Peace.
Peacefully, joyfully. divinely guided, peacefully, joyfully. I follow my inner guidance, peacefully, joyfully. I am
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hog's hair and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
Guys, ready for the show? Yeah. Enjoy it.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn?
Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure.
You'll be happy you did.
peacefully, joyfully. I am divinely guided, peacefully, joyfully. I follow.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Burns of the Guiding Light Foundation. With me is my co-host, who's been with us many times, Christina Goshen of the Daniel Gale Agency. And we have with us on Skype the Reverend Dr. Harry Morgan Moses. Welcome, Harry, friend to the show.
How's everybody?
Good to see you. Hi. Harry is the author of It's So Easy When You Know How. This book is available.
It's not if you don't.
Exactly. The book is available on Amazon. Also, Harry's website is www.newthought.com. But Harry, you knew Dr. Mary Tumpkin, and we were just speaking about her before the break.
I'm sorry I missed that part, but yes, I did know Mary very well.
Tell us your experience of Mary. She was one tough cookie, but boy, she was an incredibly inspirational speaker and a trailblazer.
She was, and she had a point of view. She clearly had a point of view. That's what we can say about Mary. One of my favorite lines about Mary, we had Mary, as you know, way back when at the Anton conferences as our guest.
Yes.
And we were doing a panel. And some student asked her about transformation in their life or something like that. And she said, well, the thing about New Thought is there actually is something to know.
That is good.
In a world where everybody is looking and we've been, been berated with this idea that you can go to this half-day seminar and become wealthy and learn the secrets to success and know how to live a peaceful life and know how to be harmonious. And all you have to do is pay a lot of money to go to this half-day seminar, as if that's what's really going to do it.
Right.
The bottom line, as we understand, is that there is the truth of our nature is a spiritual nature. That's an inner nature. In order to understand it, there's a lot to understand about mind, about conscious mind, about subconscious mind, about beliefs, about how it creates effects, about how you embody beliefs, about what a subjective idea is and where it is in your consciousness. I mean, I could go on and on and on in a language that if you don't know the language, it sounds like you're speaking Chinese. And yet, if you do know the language, each word and each understanding takes you deeper into a self-revelation, a self-realization. So one of the things I loved about Mary is she was one of our, and she took great pride in the fact that her degree was not an honorary degree. It was an earned degree. As you know, Mary Tompkins served on the Jesus Seminar,
yes,
which is a 10-year gathering of theologians from all over the globe to assess what was true about the historic life of Jesus, the man who actually walked on the planet. And that book, the Jesus Seminar, is, although published, I think, more than a decade ago, controversial at its time, now is understood to be pretty much categorical fact. The reality is that the historic Jesus is only physically attributed to saying about 26% of the things that the four Gospels say that he said. And there is a good number of quotes that they say are like the things that Jesus would have said. Mm-hmm. So you have a fair representation, if it's interpreted properly, of the teachings of Jesus, but this literal interpretation has been blown out of the water. The man who walked on the planet didn't say or do a lot of those things.
That's very interesting. I think that's the guest that we had on earlier was making mention that what Mary did so well was she integrated a thinking idea, a thinking aspect to her teachings and to her speech.
She wanted people to be critical thinkers.
Absolutely. Well, in New Thought, one of the principles, and as we know, there's lots of ways of approaching New Thought as a general philosophy. One can approach it biblically. You can come through a spiritual point of view. You can come from a scientific point of view, a psychological point of view. But the understandings are all the same, and they all point to the same truths. One of Mary's gifts, and what I would say she was probably one of New Thought's foremost experts, was actually in the Bible. And yet her interpretation of the Bible was entirely New Thought. Mm. So if you were to go, if you didn't know, for example, when she would say in the name and nature of Jesus Christ, that she was speaking of the universal Christ nature, it would sound almost like you were in a fundamental church, because it's the interpretation that made it universal, not fundamental. And she was an expert and was actually, I think, rather distraught. She used to have these great words. In fact, terms that I use to this day, I borrowed from her. Mary, I take them now. You're not with us. But I gave her credit along the way a long time. She said, in New Thought, we have two approaches. One is the Fillmorian approach, which is the unity side of New Thought, right, which is very metaphysically Bible-based. It's interpreting the scriptures to understand the meaning of that as a personal unfoldment and about your revelation of self-consciousness. Mm. The other side is the Holmesian side, which is the Ernest Holmes side of the coin, and that was much more about subjectifying thought or understanding the nature of subconscious mind. And Ernest Holmes would use it as support, whereas Charles Fillmore would use it as the premise from which he was operating from. So there are two schools of thought in New Thought. One is Fillmorian and one is Holmesian, bless you, Mary, for giving us those terms. And I think they're two sides of one coin.
Yes.
And if you're really familiar with one side, you tend to like that side better. And if you're familiar with the other side, you like that side better. But it's pretty much saying, I have a green trampoline and you have a blue trampoline. Which one do you like better? They both cause you to jump.
Yep.
And bounce. Jump and bounce. And bounce. Bounce with glee. Fantastic. Yes, I know. I've spoken at many unity churches. I've spoken at many religious science churches. And Yeah, the philosophy is the same. Yeah, and I like the way you said it, blue trampoline or a red trampoline. We have just a couple of minutes, but at the beginning of the show, what I said is I really don't believe that when one door closes, another door opens, because when one door closes, many doors open. And talk to us about what you think about that idea.
Well, one of the questions that people ask us is, so you're spiritual, then they find out you're a minister, and they say, oh, you have a doctorate. What do you have a doctorate? I have a doctorate in divinity. Well, don't you believe in science? Like they say, as if you're a theologian that you don't believe in science.
Right.
Well, I believe that science and theology point to the same thing. Ernest Holmes, the great metaphysician, said, we look forward to the day when science and religion walk hand in hand from the visible to the invisible. And I think that's where we are right now in our day. So science says, evolution says, all things are moving forward. Spirituality says, all things are moving forward. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, life does not tarry with yesterday, does not wait around with yesterday, meaning everything is moving forward. So when a door closes, very often in life, we look like, oh my God, my opportunity has been sucked away, or the life I knew is gone, or something. But since life is always moving forward, if a door closed, that has to mean there's an expansion somewhere. Right?
Right.
Because the good went as far in that direction as it could go, and then the door closed.
Right.
So when that happens, if we have the consciousness or the awareness to understand that we're growing, we're moving around there, to understand that we're growing, then there has to be opportunities there. But, if somebody says to themselves, I'm out of opportunity, there's no more luck, that's what they'll experience. If the door closes and say, I don't understand what's happening right now, but I'm looking for the greater good, that attitude will in fact reveal the greater good. So I agree with you 100%. Naturally and scientifically, it says, when one door opens, another door has to open, but it has to be a greater door or an expanded door, or as you just said, more doors opening.
Right. Well, because the nature of spirit is for the greater expansion and expression of ourselves. And what we said is that so many times the ego mind is paying attention to the closed door. And
Correct.
So then what I spoke about it, I said that, so that the ego mind doesn't have this incredible grip on us, we need a spiritual practice. And as we establish a spiritual practice, maintain a spiritual practice, intensify our spiritual practice, change it around to suit us, then that's when we can be free of the ego's grip. The ego, we don't want to call the ego bad because the ego is protective of us, but we don't like it when...
I would say it also gets you into the shower.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We love the ego. We want showers.
If I didn't have me to know that I needed to take a bath, I'd never get into the shower.
Exactly. So we need that ego. But we need to also tame the ego because, it was Johnny Coleman who said, I am the thinker that thinks the thoughts that produces the things in my life. Yeah. And, so much time, though, as our ego wants to be in charge. And what I want people to know is in the book, It's So Easy When You Know How, it talks a lot about spiritual practice. I just happened to open up to the chapter called Too Good to Be True. And it talks about all our habits. And I like your affirmation here. It says, I am radiant, vibrant, and in dynamic health. Now, I think we just have a couple of minutes left on the show here. But it says here you're one of a special group of people who are motivated to learn and grow and discover themselves. So you say this in general about people who've picked up the book?
Well, I would say yes. You mean the reader says you are one. Because, the expression is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Right? And as we well know from the other side of that coin, when the teacher is ready, the students will appear. Right? So everything is working by vibrational attraction. So what you were talking about is the depth of practice is going to determine your results. Well, that comes down to a very simple thing. Energy in, energy out. Mm-hmm. So if we wake up, if we're in our journey in life, we discover that we are spiritual beings, which is what you and I and all of us here understand. We are 100% spiritual beings. Our nature is spiritual beings. But once you get that awareness inside you, if you don't put energy in toward discovering what that is, how are you going to get energy out? Right? Wow. So you have to develop a practice in order to know and to experience and to explore what it is to be a spiritual being.
And your book is going to make that practice so easy, right?
It helps people discover that it's not about all this religiosity and all the things that in their youth they may have been stuck on, or in today's world, in their youth, they weren't even exposed to. You've got two versions happening now.
Yep.
We had a lot of people, the original New Thought people were called spirits in rebellion. And then we got so many of us, we started to rebel against each other. We're in all these different groups, It's like, and pretty soon you have to go, wait a minute, we were rebelling against a dogma and a creed that was not embodiable, that you couldn't live in. And so people are discovering self-realization is discovering your relationship to spirit and putting that into every aspect of your life.
Fantastic. Well, we just have a couple of minutes left, and so what I'd like to do is let the people know it's so easy when you know how. They can check it out on Amazon. Dr. Harry Morgan Moses' website is newthought.com.
You can also buy it direct at newthought.com. You get it faster that way.
Oh, okay, and also you're all over YouTube. Just put in Harry Morgan Moses in YouTube, and you'll see yourself everywhere.
That's because sweethearts like you keep asking me to talk on YouTube. So it works
Woohoo! I'm so delighted that you're here with us today, and we look forward to you being back on the show with us next year. Next week, we have with us the Reverend Barbara Gold Branson. She's with Live Your Joy Institute. She's written many books. One of them is Angel Talk, which I know is a controversial subject in New Thought. A lot of people don't like talking about angels because it brings up different ideas, but we know angels are messengers from God, so we're going to address that. The following week, we have your buddy, Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones, is going to be with us, and then we'll be...
Great writer, very available for people. Great to have him available, because his material is very good and all over the place.
Awesome.
Because what?
His material, he's a great writer. Dennis Merritt Jones is a great writer, and his material is doing great good all over the world.
Right.
Terrific.
So, yeah, it's going to be terrific. So, Christina, tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
You can call me or text me at 917-837-1114 or walk into the Daniel Gale sales office at 5 Main Street in Cold Spring Harbor.
Fantastic. If you'd like to reach me, my email address is Janine@Mindspring. Otherwise, you must have my website addresses memorized after all those bumpers. Harry, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you. I thank you for being so available. You are a friend to the show. Spirituality rocks, and we invite everybody to tune in same time next week to Madhouse TV, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. This is Dr. Janine H. Burns of the Guiding Light Foundation signing off on Spirituality Rocks.
Bye, you guys.